Hello, everybody. Thank you today for joining us. We are the Boyer and Associates team here to talk to you about precision, efficiencies, and growth, and why manufacturers are turning to Business Central. So appreciate you taking the time today. Let's quickly do some introductions as well as give you a high-level overview of our agenda for the presentation today. My name is Addie Rodman, and I am our VP of Marketing here at Boyer & Associates. And with me today, I have Margot Boyer, who is our superstar Business Central solution consultant, pre-sales engineer. She is a wizard of many hats, and she brings a wealth of knowledge around Business Central and how it's really become such a useful solution and impacting businesses in the manufacturing space. So we're going to be doing just a overview of Business Central to start. Then we're going to get into manufacturing and how Business Central applies to the manufacturing industry. And then Margot's going to actually give you a demo of some of these, as you can see, the topics here in our agenda. She's going to give you a demonstration of processes in Business Central and manufacturing. Margot, do you have anything you want to add to our agenda today?
I don't.
All right, awesome. Really quick, just so everybody's familiar with who Boyer and Associates is, because you've probably never heard of us, or if you have, you might not know what it is we can do. So for over 30 years, Boyer and Associates has been dedicated to helping companies evaluate, implement, enhance, and support Microsoft's cloud ERP, CRM, and now AI applications. We've been doing this a long, long time, and we've only focused on Microsoft technologies. And because of that, we are an award-winning partner. We are solution partner designated. And one of my favorite stats to share is that our consulting team averages 10 years. They average 10 years of experience in helping clients with Microsoft technologies. And that's over 1 million hours of consulting experience on these solutions. Business Central's not been around for 30 years, but prior to Business Central coming into play, we also focused on Microsoft's ERP on-premise solutions. So GP, SL, Navision, which is, Business Central's predecessor or grandparent solution, if you will. We have 550 active clients, and we also have a ton of managed services offerings just to help all clients get what they need out of these solutions. We've been doing this a long time, and we just want to make sure that our clients ensure they are maximizing their investment in the Microsoft stack. So really quick, I'm not the Business Central expert. That's what Margot's here to do, but I do want to give you just an overview of what Business Central is. It's accounting software. It's part of Microsoft's Dynamics 365 range of business applications. It's based in the cloud, and it's really for those small to medium-sized businesses that have outgrown either paper or manual processors or that smaller accounting software. It's kind of that next level up for those businesses that need that end-to-end solution for financials, for sales, for service, for operations, for inventory. And it's really got a robust manufacturing suite of tools that give you those capabilities that you need. So if you have any questions about Business Central, we want to hear them. Just you can follow up with us if you're curious and want to learn more about it as an entire solution. But again, today we are just going to be focusing on how it can help you in the manufacturing space. Our presentation objectives today are going to help you understand how Business Central enhances your manufacturing processes and scales business operations. We're going to teach you about those specific features like planning, replenishment, production orders, all the things that Margot's going to just blow your mind on with how it can help you today, as well as giving you those data-driven insights into how it can be a cost-saving solution and give you those drill-down reporting capabilities. So without further ado, now that you know a little bit about Boyer and a little bit about Business Central, I'm going to let Margot take over from here so that she can educate you on how it can help your manufacturing processes. Thanks.
Thank you, Addie. So I'm going to go ahead and just move to the next slide. All right. Before we get into the demo, I'm going to start with a high-level overview of the manufacturing process. This will apply to manufacturing in general, but it will also contain some Business Central specific wording. So let's start with an item that we want to make. That item is going to contain a bill of material and it's also going to contain a routing, just fundamentally, right? So from here, this bill of material is going to tell us the components and their quantities that we need to be able to make this item. So if I'm making a laptop, maybe I have battery, maybe I have a motherboard, maybe I have a monitor, and all of these components I need to make this item. On the other end of that, I also have a routing. So that's going to be the work instructions that I need to follow to be able to create this item. So for a laptop, maybe my first my first work instruction is I have an assembly process. I can take that to a work center. So a work center is going to be a place where work happens, where work takes place, if you will. So maybe my first work center is I have an assembly work center for my first operation step. Maybe my second operation step is that I have a machining work center. I have to laser etch the serial number of the laptop onto it. Um, and so I have a machining work center. And then maybe my last operation step, my third one is I have a quality process. So maybe I have a quality work center as well. I can have costs associated with these work centers. So maybe if I can have labor costs. So if I have to actually pay real people to assemble these products or to run these machines, I can associate those labor costs with a work center. I can also have machining costs associated with work centers. So maybe my laser etching machine here, I have electricity costs that are associated with it. I can assign that as well. And then if I have an overhead cost that I would like to assign to each work center, I could do that as well. I do have some sub processes that go into some of these master data components as well. So I have capacity planning or finite scheduling. If I only have so many hours or shifts in a day, what can I accomplish during that time? So maybe for let's take this work center, I can define the work schedule and the vacation schedule of that work center to define its schedules and their limits and what I can actually put through this work center in a given amount of time. The other sub process we have is MRP. So material requirements planning, I can plan via the requisition worksheet, or I can plan via the planning worksheet. So the requisition worksheet, that is where we can plan for component purchases. So maybe I have a battery that I need, and I have safety stock requirements for it. The system will look at the safety stock requirements. It will also take into account the amount of batteries I have on existing purchase orders and on existing sales orders. So it will calculate my component need for me. I can also plan from the planning worksheet. So from the planning worksheet, I can plan for raw material requisitions or component requisitions. And I can also plan at the top level for this item here for this laptop. So if I have a sales order out there for a quantity of 50, and I also have safety stock requirements, I can plan for a certain amount of production orders I need to generate to create these items. And using capacity planning, the planning worksheet will also tell me um, the amount of time the system thinks it's going to take me to complete those production orders. All right, so there's a lot there. Um, as we work on this production order, we're going to pull in the bill of material and we're going to pull in the routing. And as we work on the production order, we're going to consume these components and we are going to use this labor. So we can capture the consumption of components and the usage of labor from three places in Business Central. It will hit our balance sheet as work in process, and it will also hit the general ledger along the way. But the three places we can register this work in process is one from the capacity journal. So we can book labor against a production order here. And then two, we have the consumption journal. So we can consume components via the consumption journal. Or three, we have the production journal where we can do both at the same time. So we can consume a certain amount of components and we can use a certain amount of labor. And then we can also tell the system how many of this item we actually manufactured. So if I have a production order with a quantity of 100 laptops sitting out there, but I only finished one laptop, I can tell the system, well, I actually only finished making one. And then once we finish the once we finish the production order, it's going to turn into a finished inventory cost, and WIP is going to go into the finished inventory cost. And then along the way, we have an optional sub-process as well. So we see a lot of clients who have subcontracting process. So let's say I have to send some of my raw material, or I have to send some of my inventory out to a subcontractor vendor to work on throughout this process. And I want to allocate for these costs in the cost of my finished item. I can do that. So let's say maybe this work center here, that was machining. I had to laser etch a serial number into my laptop. Maybe I don't have that machine and I have to rely on a vendor to do that for me. Or maybe I don't have the capacity. This is a rush sales order and I need it done now and I don't have enough capacity. I could send it out to a subcontractor vendor and I could allocate for those costs at the end of my finished good item. So from here, now we can get into the demo, but thank you. So I will start and we'll actually hop into Business Central and I can show you some of that functionality. So here we have the main screen of Business Central. It is a web browser-based ERP system. So this is what it looks like. And I am logged in. We can see here, if I go to my settings, we can see that I am logged in as the manufacturing manager role. And so because I'm logged in as a manufacturing manager, I have a numerous amount of different manufacturing options available to me. So if I want to go into production orders, I can go and see different statuses of production orders from a list page. I can create a new item. I can go into that consumption journal I was talking about earlier and register consumption of components. I can drill into release production orders from here. I can see them. I can see a lot of information here in the manufacturing manager role. And I do want to say here also that just because I have this manufacturing manager role, that doesn't mean that I'm granted permissions to do everything that is available to me on this main screen. So Business Central does have a separate underlying permissions, and it's very robust. So I can do it at the table level. In some instances, I could do it at the field level. So I can say, I want people to be able to edit certain fields. I want people to be able to post certain fields. It's very robust. So if I have the manufacturing manager role, but I don't have the permissions to create a new item, the system will respect that and it will stop me from doing that. All right. So moving on with the agenda, we're going to start with items. And so I'll just go here. This is going to take me to my list of all of the items that I have in Business Central. And this is the items list, and it's very similar to Excel. So I can filter, I can sort, I can save filters. So if I could filter descending on the item number, I could say I only want to show units of measure that are, the base unit of measure is pieces. And because this is a Microsoft product, I can also, dump this list to Excel if I'm more comfortable analyzing data in Excel that way. You can do that really also from any list page in Business Central, but we're going to continue on with starting at the item card. So if I just drill into one of these items, I had that filter saved there just for the items we're going to be using during this demo. But this is this is what we call an item card in Business Central. So this is really the central nervous system of inventory. It's going to set all of the business rules for this item. So let's go ahead and get going here. On the one field we usually see clients care about is the item category code. So I have this tagged here as a finished good item. That could be used for filtering data. It could be used for sorting data. It could also be used to pull onto specific reports as you see fit. Going down here, we do have drill down fields here. So in this quantity on hand, I can actually navigate in here and see what's going on. So I have 3 laptops on hand, and we can see here that they all came from outputted production orders. There were 3 separate production orders that were posted with output quantities of 1. So you can really see what's going on there, see the inventory movements, see everything. All right, down in cost and posting, we have our costing method. So we have this in this world, we're going to be living in a FIFO world, but we do also see a lot of clients use average and standard cost as well. We have our posting groups. So that is going to be a mapping exercise that we complete with clients. So that will direct traffic to the general ledger to say, okay, when I post output for this item, what GL account should I hit? And that is an exercise that we usually complete with clients. Okay, and then down in the prices and sales, we have our unit price. We do also have the options to set special pricing rules if you have special prices for a specific customer or a specific group of customers or discounts. You have that availability as well. Same on the purchase end of things. And then we can also default in sales and purchase units of measure. So if you sell or purchase in different units of measure, you can set that as well. And then down in replenishment system, we have, this is a very important field, we have our replenishment system. So is this a make item or is this a buy item? If it is a make item, how do I make it? So purchase, obviously this is going to set this item as a buy item. Prod order will set this as a production order item. That's how I get more of this inventory into the system. And then we also have an option for assembly. So that will just be for kitting. We do also have a lot of manufacturing clients who don't use the production process at all. They only use assembly orders when they just want simple kitting. They don't want to have to use all of the robust functionality of Business Central. So if you're not sure where you land, that is also something that Boyer would be able to discuss with you. All right, so this laptop is a produced item. We make this on a production order. So I'm going to look over here at this production section. We have it set as make to stock. If we could also have it set to make to order. Down here, we have our routing number and we have our BOM number. I'll come back to those shortly. And then we have this field here called flushing method. And so our clients usually use manual or backward. So backward is going to tell the system, okay, just back flush all of the components, the standard components that I think I'm going to use. And manual will force user interaction. So if I want to have to tell the system how many components I actually consumed on this production order, that would be the flushing method I would want to use. We have the same concept on the work center, so we'll walk through that as well, but we have that concept as well for labor. All right. Coming down to planning, we have a reordering policy. We usually use lot for lot because that's the most flexible option. But as you see, a lot of robust capability. As I've changed the reordering policy, some fields become available to me, some become grayed out. So again, something we'd be able to look at with any prospects, any clients as well. And then we have the option to set safety stock quantities and safety lead times. And this is really going to be important when we get into the MRP process. All right, continuing on, we have item tracking. So do I need to track serial numbers? Do I need to track lot numbers? And then warehousing is really just going to be for how do I move inventory around the system? Do I use a handheld scanner in the warehouse, or am I moving it in within Business Central? So a lot of functionality there. We're going to move forward now and get into the bill of material. So I can just drill in from here. I would also be able to drill in by searching for it up in the global navigation button here. But I will just drill in directly off of the item card in this instance. So here is the bill of material to make this laptop. If I have a number, I have a description, and I have a status. So this status field is going to come into play when I actually go to create a production order. So it has to be certified to transact in the system, and it has to be under development or new to be able to change any of the actual variables on here. And then I do have the option as well to have different production bill of material versions as well. Coming down here, we can see the components that make up this laptop, and we can see their quantities. We do get into even more very robust functionality when we get into scrap percentages. I could allocate some scrap or routing link codes, so I could allocate specific components to different operation steps in the production order. All right, we will go forward with the routing now. So I will just, the same way, I will drill into the routing right off of the item card. Up here, we have very similar fields. So our number, our description, right? We have this new type field. So we have serial and parallel. Parallel would mean that I can run two or more separate operations at the same time, and serial means that I just can only run through one of these routings at a time. And then same status field as well. Coming down to at the line level, I have my different operation steps, and I have, so my work instructions are here, and then I have the work centers that are associated with this routing as well. So this is where the work is taking place. And then I can also set my standard times that I think the production order will take. So I have a setup time and a runtime here. So that's really our routing. I'm going to move forward and we're going to drill into a work center from here. So as a reminder, a work center is a place where work happens in Business Central. So I have my direct unit cost field here. So here we can see it takes $1.20 every minute, because I have my unit of measure code here. Every minute that I'm using this work center, I can associate an indirect cost percentage and overhead rate as well. And then here we get down to our flushing method again. So this is just like it was for components on the item card, but it's for labor. So manual, do I want to tell the system how much time I spent on this order, how much labor was consumed? Or backward, do I want to backflush the standards? This is really going to come into play more in discrete or continuous manufacturing. So if I'm just a continuous manufacturer and I want to just backflush everything all the time, we see continuous manufacturers use backward more frequently than discrete manufacturers. We have this set, yep, the unit cost is set as time, and it is also in minutes. You can change this as you see fit as well. And then here we do have our calendar code. All right, so all of that I just walked through, all of that was really just master data. And I'm going all the way back to my home screen now. So that was a lot of variables that go into setting up and producing inventory. So in the manufacturing process, that was really all just master data. So now we're going to get into some more transactional components in Business Central. So we're going to start with material requirements planning. And as I was going through that workflow, we saw we can do it from the planning worksheet or the requisition worksheet. And I'm going to go ahead and pop into the planning worksheet. So we'll run MRP for component purchases and to plan for a production order. And I don't have this available on my main screen, right? So I'm going to go and search for it. If I wanted to save this on my main screen, I could just bookmark it this way. And now we can see that I have this planning worksheet field available to me. All right. And I ran this once, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete all of these results, right? And then we can run the planning worksheet. So this is going to be, the planning worksheet will be for planners and buyers. If you have multiple, you can set up different batches so everyone can work in their own batch without messing with anyone else's work. So I'm going to run this by calculating the regenerative plan. I'm going to run it for MPS, so for planning at the top level for that laptop part, and for MRP, so for planning purchases for the components. This is going to be my planning window. And I have an item filter here just for those demo items, so for the raw materials and the finished goods. And I'll go ahead and I'll run this. All right, so here are my results. We can see here we have a warning column. So we have an exception. That usually means that I'm below my safety stock level. I can drill into that. And yep, surely enough, it looks like my safety stock is 1,000 units of this, and I only have 3 on hand. So I need to create, because this is a produced item, I need to create 997 laptops. And so here we can see that it wants us to create this this planned production order for that item. Down on the second level, we can see, yep, looks like it also wants us to purchase some batteries as well. It wants us to purchase about 1,500 batteries, and here is my default vendor that I have set to purchase those batteries. We can also drill into here a bit further to look at the results and look at the why the system is telling us to do these things. So if I look at my item availability by event, we can kind of see what's happening. So on that laptop item, we can see, okay, I have 3 on hand. My suggested projected inventory is 1,000. And so it wants me to create a planned production order for 997. So we can really look at the history in there as well. It gets a little bit more complicated as we get into the components, because the system will actually look and say, this component goes onto a production order. I have this many production orders sitting out there. So taking that into account, how many components should I purchase? All right. So moving forward, I can actually create a purchase order for this battery to this vendor right off the planning worksheet. And I can also create a planned production order for this laptop, and I can change it before doing that. So maybe I don't actually want to go ahead and create a production order for 997 laptops. Maybe I just want it to be for 1 laptop. I could change it before going and creating that. And then on the second line, well, maybe I don't want to purchase 1,500 batteries. Maybe I want to purchase 15. So we can do that. And I'll go ahead and I'll just run this. So I have this accept action message flag selected, and I can just carry out those action messages. We're going to create a firm planned order for the production order, and we're going to make a purchase order for that purchased component. And I can just select OK here. So it fell off the screen. So it created a purchase order for us automatically, and it also planned a production order for us. So that was MRP. And our last really topic that we're going to get into is going to be actually processing a production order. So we'll go, and it created a firm planned production order for us. So I could search for it here, or I could drill in from my home screen, and I could go to firm planned production orders. Going to be this last one for the laptop. And this is what a production order looks like in Business Central. So I have my source type as my item, I have my item number, and I have the quantity of this item that I'm making. It's scheduled for us based on the work centers and the capacities and the schedules that I have set. So we can see that as well. This is the unit cost that the system thinks it will take to create this laptop. That doesn't necessarily mean this is actually going to be the unit cost, unless I backflush everything, right? And then we can also see the routing and the components at this level. So if I go to line and components, we'll be able to see it pulled in all of the components from the bill of materials for us. And if this isn't actually what I'm going to use, I could change it directly from here. So I could say, well, this laptop, they wouldn't want 2 motherboards, but let's say maybe I want 4 batteries. I could change that. I'm just going to bring it back to 2, but we could change it. And then we can see our flushing method there. And then same with routing. So we can see that it pulled in our standard routing for us. So these are the work steps, the work instructions that we're going to follow to create this production order. All right. And since we're on a firm planned production order, this is really just kind of a status indicator in Business Central. So in a firm planned production order, we haven't released it to the floor yet. We're just really looking at this, making sure this is correct. This is actually what we want to make. And so we just reviewed it. I'm going to say, okay, this looks good. I want to release this to the floor to be able to work on. So I will change the status here to a released production order. All right. And we can see here that the firm planned production order changed to a different production order number with a released status. And I will just, instead of going to the home screen, I'll just go ahead and look for released production orders. And I made a typo even, and Business Central still recognized that I'm human. So, all right, we're drilling into this released production order now. And now we can see one extra thing here now that we are on a released production order where we can actually start working on this, right? So now we have this new concept of the production journal. And if you remember, during that production workflow that I was going through, the production order is where you can consume components and you can use labor and you can tell the system how many of the produced item you're actually making, right? So we're here on the production order. We have this flushing method filter set to manual. There's nothing for us to manually consume, because if you remember, on my components and on my routing, I had everything set to backward. So in this instance, I'm just back flushing the standards for everything. I'm back flushing the components and I'm back flushing the output, just the standards. So that's why we didn't see anything in that manual flushing filter. And that is also why we see 0 here for everything, because I told the system that I want to back flush the standards. But if you had this configured, for manual in whatever instance you would want to use manual, either for consuming components or for outputting or using labor, you could also plug in the actuals that you are using as well. But I'm back flushing the standards, so I will just X out of that. I won't do anything there. And since I'm back flushing, I can just change the status and I can, finish this production order. All right, so I finished that production order. Very similar sort of message here. We can see that the status changed from released to finished. And similarly, I'm going to go and look at the finished production order. Going to be this one. And here we can actually drill into the costs and look at what happened here. So if I go into entries, I can see my item ledger entries. So here we can see, okay, what is going on? So I can see all of the components that were consumed against this production order. I can actually see the actual, I can see the actual costs that were associated with this as well. And then I can see the outputted cost here of the produced item. And if you'll notice, this outputted cost here is significantly higher than the sum of all of these components. And so why? The answer is also because we're also taking into account labor, those variables that went into the work center. So I can see my item ledger entries and I can see my capacity ledger entries as well. So from here, now we can see, okay, here are the extra costs that actually went into creating that laptop. So we can see the labor associated here. And then I could also go directly to my general ledger and I could see all of that as well. So a lot of robust functionality, a lot of drill down capabilities that I can access from a from all of my production orders, but the finished production order is really where we can see everything that happened. And then we do also see a lot of clients who want to create custom reports off of this. So do I want to see this in a specific format? Do I want to pull this into a Power BI report, or do I want to pull this into a Jet report? You can do that as well. From a released production order, if you have specific documentation, maybe you have a traveler report, you would be able to print it off of a release production order. If you have a pick list, we see clients print that off as well. So a lot that you can do in Business Central that we would be able to help you configure and help you with. The last topic I wanted to touch on was ISVs. So ISVs in Business Central stand for Independent Software Vendors, and these are trusted Microsoft applications that you can import or download into Business Central. And you wouldn't really know that they were not custom built, that they were not built by Microsoft unless someone told you to. So they integrate very seamlessly into the system. So some very common manufacturing ones we see, if the functionality that you saw today didn't actually match what you expected and you have additional requirements that weren't really met, we do have ISVs available as well that we would be able to discuss with you if, and we could talk about it and see, okay, is this something that can be done out of the box Business Central, or would you need maybe an additional solution? So some ones we see very frequently, we see scanning in the warehouse. So if I want to receive or ship or count or move inventory with a handheld scanner, that's one we see very frequently. We do also see scanning onto production orders. So if I want to track production costs at each operation step, and I want to say, okay, how much time are people really spending working on an order, I could do that as well by resource. And then another one we see is quality. So if I have quality requirements and I actually want to force a stop in the production process and say, I need someone to post a quality order with specific quality requirements, quality tests, I could do that as well. That's another ISV we see very frequently. We see engineering change management. So if you want that as well, notifications, that's another option as well. And then lastly, we do see, not lastly, but of the common ones, right? We do have the configurator as well. So if a customer, let's use that same laptop example. So if a customer can choose the RAM that goes into it and it changes the price, then that's the configurator is one we see frequently as well. So if the customer is going to choose the components that are going into the bill of materials, and it will actually change the cost, we do see that semi-frequently as well. So I will hop back into the PowerPoint and we can just look at kind of a recap of all of the functionality that we kind of went through. Thank you, Addie. All right, so here, this is kind of just a recap of all of the improvements that you can make to your system, all of the flexibility, capability that you can have using Business Central. So we kind of touched on all of this during today's demo. And then, yeah, so please just reach out to Boyer if you have any questions, or if you want to set up an introduction, or you have any questions about what you saw during today's demo. But thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Margot. I know I personally, and I don't even work in the manufacturing space, so I appreciate it. Yeah, please reach out anytime if you have any questions about Business Central or anything you saw today, and we'd be happy to help you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.